Welcome to the Gray State Revolution. The Forbidden Ones are waking up. Now it's time to invoke a new revolution to the socialist scam to take over America and discover what it will take and what we can actually do about it to conquer the left. Direct from Ridge Runner Studios, here is your host, David Big Dave Ezel.
Following me on TikTok, and I appreciate all of that. No, I don't listen to Glenn Beck. Do you think teachers should be armed just in case? Yeah, I do. You've got plenty of people that work at the schools that are former military. I don't know why they wouldn't be. There's enough of them that, and especially in the South, I don't know about the North, that hunt, that know how to handle weapons. But what we're going to talk about this week is what we're going to talk about this week is the rulings and what's going on in the country and why. And if anybody's listened to the show, Gray State Revolution. The Gray State is typically defined as an undyed piece of wool and fabric. It has no bearing on the outcome of anything except for your life. What is happening in this country now is a sad shame. This past week and a half, we've had our House of Representatives pass legislation trying to supersede the Constitution. And previous to that, the SCOTUS basically ruled that shall not be infringed was a law. But of course, that wasn't good enough. They were going to try to codify some gun laws. They've had, like with the Roe v. Wade issues, they were supposed to codify the abortion issue if they wanted to, but they couldn't do that because if they codified it, made it a code, made it law, there wouldn't be a political discussion to be had. We are slowly deteriorating into a culture. No, David, I don't. Into a culture that actually has not much education in the education system. These people can't tell you who the presidents were, what they were famous for, what their famous lines were. They can't recite any part of the Communist Manifesto, because if you're going to know your enemy, you had to learn that. I had to learn that in school. I don't know if any of y'all learned that in school, but I had to learn that in school. There are forces out there. I mean, the Department of Education deteriorated when Jimmy Carter made it a Secretary of seat in the cabinet. The states were doing just fine, and you don't think they weren't. Look at what we produced before 79, some of the greatest scientists and worldwide thinkers ever known. A lot of the stuff that they formulated is just now being found out. I don't know where we're going to go. We can't go nowhere but up. But under the current leadership of our country, there's no way for us to go up. And what is happening now is everybody talks about every so often the party switch platforms and all that, but that's not what's happening now. It's getting to be on plain sight. They're not changing any of it. They're only changing it for them, basically. Which we all have talked about it for years. We've never had to do anything about it. But now it's changed. Now is one of those things where they have to talk about it. But what's happening is they were going to do just what they wanted to do. And at first, when the vote on H.R. 1808 came out, I concerned myself with the 217. But now that I've gotten over the initial being pissed off about it, because they're trying to supersede the Constitution, then I got thinking, we saw Nancy Pelosi grinning and carrying on about it, all proud of what she had done. But now the 213 that voted against it, they hadn't raised not one stink about it. They hadn't gone out and said it's wrong. And I know there were a couple of reps that did that from the Deep South, but and as a whole, you would figure the party as a whole would have been all up in arms. Oh, well, it's a guns right, but it's not a guns right. It's not gun control. It's not gun control. It's all about control, not gun control. Nadler plainly said right there on TV in front of everybody when they were witnessing it, well, yeah, that's what this bill is for. So they were fully aware, and they told us. And when they tell you what their plans are, you better believe them. And that's a simple fact. They told us what the plans were going to be. And we're just sitting out here all pissed off about it. Let's get into some of these. You've got as many far left groups as you've got just as many super far right groups. And they're getting worse and worse, the far right groups. They're going just as far right as you can go. I've said before, I'll say it again, I am not an abortion advocate whatsoever. If you can afford an alternative, that's what you do. But I don't believe in it being used as birth control or any of that. I'm kind of middle ways about it. I think the point is you have to look at the foundations of Planned Parenthood if you want to get the gist of what's going on. And check out the person, Margaret Sanger, that actually founded it, and read some of the stuff she wrote about it, and you'll see that she ain't nice at all, but she was a Democrat, you see. You've got the House that went all up in arms, and the senators and the super left wings went all up in arms and saying, oh, it's going to repeal. They're trying to kill women. That's taking it to the extreme, I think. Most everybody understands that. They are taking it to the extreme. So, believe what you want to believe, but it's not going to shake or break anybody in the middle, in the gray state. Yes, William, you're right. They do sell the body parts and the stem cells for profit. That's the whole point. They've been doing that for years. It's not been a joke. I've heard all the kind of stuff that there's tissue that's used in lipstick production. So, yeah, neither here nor there for me. It's not my body, really. I am, although a lot of people don't, my body, my choice. If it's something I choose to do, that's what I'm going to do. That is up to including the shot. That's up to including everything else. It's, yes, Walker, you're right. But that's my personal choice. I mean, I get to make that and choose that. It's part of being an American. We're guaranteed that right, and we're going to keep that right. And that's just a fact of life. I don't understand what the fight is. I mean, the right wanted to use it during the jab session and holler about it, but now all of a sudden, when they switched it back to the states, they not only got what they wanted all these years, was for it to be taken out of their state. They don't want you going to have an abortion, and now they're attacking birth control. Now, you can have whatever form you want on it, but you can't say you can't have an abortion if you can't have prevention for causing what's it. It makes no sense. So the right's done the same exact thing the left has done. They've taken and bastardized the issue and taken it so far right that it's becoming ignorant. Now, if the state so far votes on it all together and the state as a whole votes it out, that's called state rights. They have that right to do it. But for the legislatures just to do it, legislatures are politically controlled. And I don't like it no more than anybody else likes it. Yes, Cindy, I've been saying this for years and years. I do a medical podcast too, and I talk a lot about the medical side of this issue. But right now it's just me, right? And most everybody in the country agrees with my perspective on it. That's because, yes, Bonner, yes, that's exactly what it should be. That's exactly what it should be. And then they can't say anything. You can't say it. If you don't go vote, you don't get a say. But as far as right now, this elected representation is nothing but controlled by lobbyists. And that's just how it is. We've accepted it. It's because of our lack of doing anything, and all these years, our lack of saying anything in mass quantities is not got them. Didn't shake them. They didn't give a damn. They didn't have to give a damn. It's trying to find the right words so I don't get completely yanked for it. Everybody that's realized that what's going on, we've all realized now. Like I said, the 217 to 213 on the HR 1808 bill, yes. The 217 blatantly tried to override the Constitution by passing the law. I'll call you, Walker, okay? I'm going to do something. And I'm going to let you know. Guys on TikTok, these are some great topic points, and I've got views on all of it. So I really appreciate it. And if y'all don't mind, share this live cast on TikTok to all your like-minded individuals. Because I've grown this week exponentially on TikTok under the Gray State Mafia. I went from like 400 2 weeks ago to over 2,900, I think, right before I went on air. So I appreciate that. And these topics, I was hoping this is what it's going to do. I don't need a great big bunch of people in the room. I appreciate the likes. If you like what I'm saying, keep liking it. I'll know to keep going that way with it. And you're right, Bonner. Gerrymandering, and I hope you're talking about gerrymandering the U.S. representative districts. Because that's going to be the key part of what I'm about to talk about. I don't think the current way that the Electoral College is working right. I think there's a better way to do it. And I think Nebraska and Maine kind of have the right idea here. Because there's more equal representation in the Electoral College doing what I'm about to tell y'all to do. And we won't have all these arguments about a Supreme Court striking down this law or the government trying to pass a law that strictly you can read it and tell that it violates the Constitution. When it says in one part, shall not be infringed, and it says in another part, your elected representation will do your elected representation until they don't. And then we didn't ever stand up. That was the problem. But here's the greatest part of all of this. If we really want to make a difference, then we can. Because everybody that sees how far the right's going and how far the left is going, all leave their respected parties. Screw the nomination elections. Screw them. Just go out there and run as a Democrat and go out there and run as a Republican. And then we'll vote and we'll take the top 4 vote getters from the nomination process. You got 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. I hate being a 2-party system, but we're a 2-party system. George Washington said in his farewell address to the country that the party systems was going to destroy the country, and look where we're at. That is where we're at. I'm a conservative moderate, right-leaning moderate. I'm not a Republican by any means. I'm not a Democrat by any means either. I'm not really libertarian. I used to be, but libertarians got woke. Woke don't work. It's not feasible. It don't maintain, and they use woke society uses all the woke shit to raise funds for their general fund in their city. We got all those laws to undo. You find a governor that says they're going to vote for the Article 5 that's running somewhere, one that's running. Oh, we're going to vote for an Article 5. We got to stop some of this shit. And the beauty of the calling Article 5 is if we get enough governorships, we can call it and change the laws. And then whoever calls it, whichever side calls it, gets to run it. Doesn't say that directly in the Constitution, but the majority of the people run the Constitutional Convention. The representation from that state gets to run it. Because that's how they chose the representation of the states when they had the first Constitutional Convention. It'd be the same process. Now, that's good and that's bad. It's good if we can do it, and we can change the country and change the format of our country and change the path of our country by taking the road less taken, but not necessarily by coup. Coup's never good. Coup always leads to a dictatorship. So the best way to do it, the best way to get your voice heard, is to go out and vote. And do it in droves. I don't know, there's been a lot of talk about 2,000 mules. A lot. That's a Republican side. You know what? It didn't show me that. You know what it showed me? It showed me that both sides can cheat. If the Democrats can do it, so can the Republicans. And they did. They have. And we'll just sit by and let them do it. We're as much to blame for where we're at right now as they are. They're actually more to blame, but we're just as much as guilty. you cannot not say anything and just complain about it. I mean, there's 4 boxes of dissent. There's a soapbox, and we all know what that is. You get out in town square and you tell what your problem is with whatever it is that you got a problem with, and then that's your soapbox, right? Politicking. That's your soapbox. The next place that you have, I say, in the laws and stuff that rules your life is a jury box. And that's a jury of your peers. The reason they wrote it is a jury of your peers is so if they thought the law was too overreaching, they could just nullify the law. But that's with the original Constitution. I do believe that we're under maritime rule. So they'll tell you now that you can't nullify. And juries, I see what juries are starting to do. Juries are actually starting to nullify the judges that tell them no, because they know the law. Lockdowns did 2 things. The lockdown showed us that the country's got to keep moving to keep going. Number 1. Number 2, it showed us that there is a lot of crazy people that live here. Oh, I want to say a bad word. A lot of crazy people that live here on both sides. And number 3, they get all the say on what's going to be led in the news, while all the ones of us stuck in the middle, or the gray state, who go either way, who lean one way or lean the other way, and do it that way. I have advocacy issues that I am pro for, and that I'm happen to be a 2A guy. You can't. It's the ultimate. It's what separates us from the rest of the whole world. Man, you don't have a clue if you've not been out of the country. You don't know. The only people out of the country with extreme gun laws that have guns are criminals. Period. I can guarantee you, if we have more incidents like at the mall in Indiana, all this crazy crap would stop. And there's no question about that. Oh, it'd be by the Old West. Yes, it would be. But it'd have to be a majority of the states that agrees to it. So they shouldn't be worrying about the law that they're voting on according to how the politics reads. How they need to be voting on the law is, well, can't be infringed, so we don't wear them on Sundays, or they can't be visible on Sundays or Saturdays or whatever other religious holiday. If that's how the state deems to vote, then that's the state's law. And nowhere would a law like that interfere. Just saying not do it. Just saying, we're going to church on Sunday, let's not bring a weapon to church. That's just an example. They say a school is a gun-free zone. For who? For who? That's all I got to say about that one. COVID also put everybody behind a computer because it wasn't working. They were having to find stuff to do, and that was read. If I heard the word rabbit hole one time over the last 2 years, I've heard it 100,000 times. Well, I went down a rabbit hole last night. Well, don't be doing that. It's a tight fit. Oh, well, yeah, it's a deep subject for such shallow minds. But they did something else. This is just a theory, just a conspiracy theory. But hear me out. There's no question in anybody's mind that George Floyd was an unfortunate incident. Right? He was killed. But he wasn't killed because he was black. He was killed. I'm going to give you a perspective you probably hadn't thought about. He was killed because they were kind of tired of messing with him. Oh, he's always done this, and we're not going to pay attention to it. What the rest of the world saw before was police brutality. And that's really what it should be about. Because it really is. It's just, I'm in the medical field, I'm a nurse. We got bad apples. I'll be the first to tell you, not everybody's cut out to be a nurse, and not everybody should be one. It takes a special kind of person to do what we do day in and day out and not expect recognition for it. Right? I don't care. All I want to hear is a fellow co-worker tell me that I did a good job today. Or a resident or a patient say, man, you made my day better. And if you can put a price on that, good luck. Because I can't. I know that we have a nursing shortage, not because the nurses don't want to work. We have a nursing shortage because the government has stuck their damn nose in where it didn't belong. And they have made rules that counteract each other's rules and tried to take over health care. For what? I'll tell you for what. For $4 trillion of the gross domestic product. That's for what? Where are the 213 that voted against the gun control measure now? They were all Republicans. I think there was a couple of Democrats that voted no. But that's because they were from Trump-heavy districts. Okay? We're not stupid either. We know. All of these platforms are trying to silence everybody. Hell, silence, okay? Keep on. I love it. Because all you're doing is helping them go find alternative locations to get actual information and truth. So I love it. I look at it different because I don't listen to everything. And in fact, I go to the world to get my news, and the world comes to us podcasters to get their news. As we all know, the national medias are in on it, keeping everybody dumbed down. It is misinformation. But it's not misinformation derived from a foreign source. It's misinformation because it's a lack of. It's not information at all. It's a lack of information. Because you're not telling us what. Give it to information. Let us make our mind up. That would require us to think. I've seen people pop on these memes talking about the book guide for the 1968 whatever Barracuda. Told you how to change out this and the gap between the spark plug, and now the books tell you not to drink the antifreeze. Hey, it's okay, it's kind of cute. But you know why it's funny? It's funny because it's true. It's funny because it's true. I understand about the George Floyd thing. And I know. I know. We all know. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knew about Smollett. Everybody knows. Okay? Here's what happened. So for 72 hours, it was about police brutality. It wasn't about race. It was about police brutality. What happened in D.C. was, well, look at here. That police brutality. Okay, look at them. Well, we can't have them talking to each other like this. They'll figure out what we're up to and they'll put a stop to it. Now, I'm not saying that Arkansas, I'm not saying that we can't talk about the stuff. What I'm saying is everybody hopped out there to make it about race because race baiting has been going on a long, long time. Because it charges you up. It makes you feel like you're fighting for something, and we shouldn't really need race baiting. There shouldn't really be any race baiting. Because at the end of the day, we all have to go stand in the same gas lines. We all have to go stand in the grocery store lines. Because one color we do have in common is green. And there's either some or there's none. And right now we're heading to the none side. When everybody's got nothing, then everybody will have something in common. Because I don't think that the Dutch farmers all had everything in common. But what all they have in common now is they're hungry. They already know what's coming. They put aside all their political differences to take on one. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's true. It's true. Our government has made a fortune. Don't think they hadn't. By creating the enemy of my enemy is my friend for financial benefit. They can't have us waking up. They just got us woke. They're bringing on their own demise. And they're just now starting to see what we've already been talking about for a year and a half before COVID was over with. Now they're just starting to see it. Now they're getting worried. That doesn't make any sense to me. Does that make sense to you? Does it really? I don't care about all these followers and stuff. I get my message out on TikTok for one thing I believe in, one side of it. There's so much more to everybody than just that one side. You know, the funny part is the middle, the gray state folk. All of us that aren't tainted and dyed up to an ideology and not your own internal moral compass. Everybody else understands that the Bill of Rights and the first 10 articles of the Constitution all are biblical based. They were biblical people. And then, you know, years later, that's what they want you to say, but years later you find out some of them weren't. Some of them weren't at all. Jefferson was an atheist, I'm sure. I've read some of his writings. I'm sure he was an atheist. So, what goes from here? Where do we go from here? We're going to go back to Electoral College now. So you count these votes in each House district, and you've got electoral. You got 435 electoral colleges. You got 535 electoral votes, but you award those electors by the district they represent. Mississippi's got 4 districts. That's what it was in the last one. I don't know how many they've got now after the census. But they've got 3 red and 1 blue. And you go through all 50 states, breaking down these electoral districts and electoral votes. There's 434. And each state popular vote for the president gets the Senate. So if they overwhelmingly voted Democrat in California, they get 2 Democratic senators. And then their House is broken down by, and that's how your electoral college breaks down. So instead of popular vote getting all 53 from California, it knocks down that number. See, it creates more competitive nature. That's how it should be divvied out. We get an Article 5, we can do that. We can also tack on there 12 years all you get to serve in the government. 12 years. You can't serve in one house and then stop in that 12 years and go serve in another without being out of office for 8 to 10 years between. If you're in the House and you lose, that's 2 years, you got 10 years left, and you want to go do the Senate, well, you can only do the Senate. Instead of 2 6-year terms, you can only do the Senate 10 years, which means you're done. In 10 years, you're done. Or we can go just to 8 years. I don't care. We'll come up with a number. You already got 2 terms on the president, 4 years. Everything's 4 years. Except for the House. The House should always be every 2 years. And that should be it. That should be all of it. And then once they're gone, their staff is gone too. And the next one brings in all new staff. That way you don't create a deep state, a cabal, whatever you want to call it. Whatever your faction wants to call it. It gets real easy when you start thinking things in common sense. And I saw a post today. I don't know if it's true. I haven't done any research on it. But I think GTA Redhead, I'm in Arkansas. Yes, William, it's time to take up arms. You're right, GTA. We should not use our critical thinking skills. We should teach people how to use our critical thinking skills. Yes. You're right. Everything will come together. I don't know about it being the end of days. There's one prophecy that I look at, and only one that I look at, that tells me what I need to know. And if you believe that the CERN opened a black hole and it says wolf, then so be a wolf. But the lion and the lamb represents the two largest religious organizations in the world. The Muslims is represented by the lion. All of the Protestant religions, all of the Catholics, and all the Protestant religions are represented by a lamb. And when those two make peace, so that'd be the Middle East. So if we're going that far, we're going to do it like that good doctrinal theory you learn in church. Is Israel and the Arab nations make peace. If that starts happening for real, then I'm done. I'll know it's the end of time. Then I probably won't believe the rest of them until I see the seals opened up. So I'm not a true Christian. I'm agnostic, but I do read the Bible. Because it's just good life lessons in there too. You know what I'm saying? Yes, William, the haves and haves nots. No one standing there we needed to. Rachel, we're going to have this coming. They can get ready. They don't know it. It's coming. They caused it. They caused us to see each other in the public and what we were going through. They made us be empathetic because it was the thing to do, right? Hey, TikTok, hit them like buttons for me. I know there's just 4 in the room, but hit them like buttons for me. So we can get people to stop by. I know they've been fighting in that reason, William, for thousands of years. I know that. That's why they've been fighting. That's why the Bible says in the prophecy what it says. It's just, that's how it is. That's why the prophecy is there. It does have some significance. It does. I'm beginning to think that the 12 tribes of Israel are the 12 sects of the Muslim nation, and that 13th tribe is the Jewish tribe. That would only explain why they would be fighting like that. That may not be nothing to that. It may be the 12 different tribes of Israel. It may be 12 regions of the earth. It may be Pangea. I don't know. Not for me to know all of that. But what it is for me to know is the last 240 years of our history. So we're not out there walking in the desert and turn around, turn into a pillar of salt. So we know not to fight brother against brother again in this country. Instead of tearing down the monuments that remind us of the stupidity of the people that came before us, they should be left alone so they can remind us of the stupidity that we have today. That's not a very popular opinion. But what we've got right now is votes that actually matter. Don't think this fall we're going to have to go out in droves. I did a duet this week with Jeremiah. And yes, if you go out in droves, I know there's these train of thought that they're not going to let anybody go out. They're going to find a way to lock us down over monkeypox. That's where the problem's going to start. And now they're going to come up with a shot. Which that first one didn't kill us fast enough. That's what people are going to be saying. I don't know what to do. All I know to do is what I feel. What's in my gut. That's all I know to tell you. That's all I know. There's plenty of other ways to do revolution. Soapbox, jury box, ballot box. The last one is the cartridge box. We all know what that means. I don't have to explain that. The 4 boxes of dissent are a soap box, a jury box, a ballot box, and a cartridge box. And I've been through all of them. That's how I do my outline, is those 3 boxes. For every subject. You can do it for every topic. I can do a whole hour on the 2A. I can do a whole hour on the founder of Planned Parenthood, Sanger. I can do what you want me to do. There's 3 people left on my life. That's 3 ideas. That is what they want. They want to have a reason to lock us down so we don't get to vote. And they can control the boxes. As right now, I see what's happening. I'm not going to sit there and say I don't. Them people in Arizona weren't playing, man. when they have people camping out by the boxes and really wanting nothing nobody could do about it because public property. If they wanted to sit there, then they did. And then they counted votes. So they had 80% of the vote counted at 9 o'clock. So, well, we got to take a break. And all I thought was, oh, we got to take a break. I guess the algorithm couldn't keep up with the votes that was actually coming in on the day they voted. They overwhelmed the vote count so much the algorithm could not keep up. I promise you. All computer programs run on algorithms now. They're smart applications. They're super smart applications. But the votes coming in for Kari Lake were so much they couldn't overcome the fraud if there was any. Plus, they had to contend with all the people having pizza parties out by the ballot boxes all night long, all day long. That's how we're going to get. That's how you're going to make sure. Yeah. Yes, Wild Rat, yes. They created the algorithm to do so many votes. They did a test in Arizona and they ran 4,000 ballots marked for the same person through. The votes still didn't come out to 3,200 to 1,400, something like that. And what happened when they did the math, it was way more votes than there was sheets put in the system. So yeah, there's an algorithm. Well, they're not going to tell you all that, of course. I had to dig around and find it, and I couldn't tell you where exactly I found it, what company it was, or what article that it was. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head, but it's out there. I could just type it in. It'll pop up, I promise you. If not, and Tusk Browser is a new application. It's available on Android now, so you can download. I've got it on my computer and my phone. It's Tusk Browser. It's what I use. It's a free-thinking conservative site, but you get all the news you want. You get to pick and choose what sites you go to. That's much better for me because there's trusted sites I go to, and it's all I go to, and that's how they set it up. Their search engine is being built. They built this side first while they build the search engine. Makes sense to me. Then they get an idea of what their people want, right? Yes, Miss Morris, you're right. And that's what I'm trying to do. Hey, simply saying, just doing my podcast, trying to do a cross live here. At some point, if we don't put aside all these arguments they've got us arguing about, and that's all of us, we're all guilty of having our own opinions. That's how it works. We're used to doing that in this country, and we're going to do it. If we don't learn how to set aside our opinions and our thoughts and set that shit aside to argue for a later day and turn around and hold the people responsible for making us fight back at them. Nobody likes a bully, right? We've let them bully us. I don't know what else to say. We all know the cause of our problem. We all know the cause of our problem. It's red and blue. You got these people out there, these other podcasters that say, well, the Republicans aren't. The Democrats are the cause of all the problems. The Republicans may not necessarily be the answer. There ain't a politician alive that's the answer. Trump won the first time because he was a politician. He was not a politician. He was a public petition or whatever. He was the you're fired guy. And what we wanted him to do was to go in there and fire everybody. And get rid of all the BS up there that's run us for so long. And now we're waking up and it might be too late. I'm sure by now he has been, but I don't, something's up. I can't figure it out yet. I think I know what he's doing. I think I know exactly what he's done on the backside. I mean, he's been busy. It was a bigger win in those two states because what I noticed, like I said, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm tired of being one because every time I come up with one, it comes true. But here's what I'm thinking. The news reporting was spun. The news reporting was spun. You're right, William. The news reporting was spun in such a way that it gave all of the red candidates a major issue that they actually have ground on. Yes, crime is bad. But which crime? That's where all of this is going anyway. You know, which crime? Oh, which crime? Here's a crime. Here's a major crime. Why in the hell have we not voted out? And I work in a nursing home. So I'm not an ageist person. But why in the hell have we got derelics in D.C. that don't know where the hell they are? I saw Mitch McConnell looking confused the other day. He didn't know what to say. He gets on my nerves. And then Lindsey Graham, little outburst. I watch that videotape all the time. I think it's funny. I've been to D.C. I know what his nickname is. That's what we give you guns for. That's what we give you guns for, Lindsey. Had that been 35, 40 years ago, and they would have come across there like that, there'd have been people going to their cars in their parking lot and pulling the shotguns out of their back glass on them old rests that we used to have to put everything on, and they'd have been going to take care of business and take care of their house. The question shouldn't be, did they get invited in? The question shouldn't be, did it happen? Was it an insurrection? The question should be, why the hell would you want it to be one? Why? Why would you want it to be one? Nobody ever wants to see a coup. Not in a free country. Because we do have it pretty good. No, even our poor people are fat. Look at me, I'm fat. Always the last resort, Mark. Always. We seen a couple on November 3rd, 2020. We saw one like 2 weeks ago. Did y'all not see the same video I saw the Sri Lankan president running for his ass's life? User 8757201443489. MAGA is the idea is stronger. Your base has changed, but the idea is stronger. Your base is now really becoming independence. And there's a reason for that. Well, F left, yes. But we allowed the peaceful transfer of power. But now that all the facts are coming out, it's fired a base on the other side, and they know it did. They know they're kind of being really, really watched now, because we're really only thinking. They didn't know that we knew that the strength of numbers was going to hit us hard. We've all heard it. Certain generations of us have all heard it. That at some point you're going to get fed up enough that you're going to fight back. Well, let's say that all of that conspiracy theory is true, and there's a global elite. Now, I'm not saying that it's true or not true. I'm just saying let's look at it as a conspiracy theory, and let's compare some notes on something. It's a well-known fact that the czars of Russia, the fall of the Russian Empire and the implementation of communism, was based on a small little document called the Communist Manifesto. Now, if y'all will go read the Communist Manifesto, and you can read the English translation in the quick version or the Cliff Notes or whatever, but you'll get the general idea. There's one statement that says, they will destroy from within and take you over before you wake up and know what's happened to you. Well, I don't know about you, but when I cut the stuff on and watch the news, I don't see the news. I see a Communist Manifesto being read out to us daily by day by day by day. So that wasn't enough for us by the 40s. Well, by the late 30s. It'd only been like 15 years since the Russian war. Then we was in World War II. But before we leading up to World War II, there was a little bitty short guy in Germany who took over the landscape of Germany from a right-leaning side of politics. If you want to say he was a religious right person, you would be correct. It's the guys, folks. It's whatever works. And what's worked now is the fact that they got us a way to keep us quiet. And Americans, they're pretty laid back. They're quiet till you go to mess with their mama and their kids and their daughters. Okay, you forgot a step. You forgot a step out there to realize that there's still gentlemen being raised in this country. There's still men with values that live in this country every day. There's women that out there is going to protect their man that treats them that way. There's women out there that's going to fight just as hard, can shoot better, can do better, can move better, can fumble around better, and can sneak up on you better than most men can. And we're the ones out there still there. We're the ones that don't just see our families by our small individual unit. Because if y'all was like me, I was raised with my cousins. I already know their strengths and their weaknesses, and they know mine. And that's called extended family. And at some point, when it starts getting to the point in that extended family where it's hurting you, that's right, Mark. But you know what I'm about to say is true. The government never underestimated, never thought that the people of the South ideals would be spread all over this country. It used to be the redneck society was maintained at a southern connection south of the Tennessee border. on down towards the coast, stopped at the Florida Panhandle, except for maybe the parts not by the beach. All the bordering states down there. And it dipped all the way down to South Louisiana and went over to the line in Texas and stopped right about Dallas. And I've traveled this country, and I've seen rednecks everywhere. See, it's not a race. It's not an ethnic thought. It's an idea. Rednecks have the ultimate freedom because we get to use the ultimate knowledge. And rednecks know how to keep knowledge to themselves, just like they know how to keep the secrets to themselves. The government don't know that. The government don't know that your sister kid is your kid. Your nieces and nephew will call you uncle or dad or paps or pops. And they highly misunderstand the American public, and they don't get it. They're so far out of touch, they don't give a damn if they're out of touch or not. It's coming a day where we're all going to have to pay something. History tells us that the forefathers were fully aware of what was coming. They knew by committing treason against the country of England that they were facing ultimately the biggest army, the most well-trained army in the world at the time. They knew when they went and signed that document, they would probably lose everything. And they all did. All of them did. And you realize that all of the founding fathers but 2 or 3 were under the age of 28. And I hate to say what I'm about to say, and it's not true across the board, but the biggest majority of our under 28s we got a lot to do. Mark, history shows us that civilians can take over an army if united, and we will be. I don't have a clue. I don't have a doubt about that. It's the other side that bothers me, because you never know what you're going to have. They talk about, well, the army will never return, but you don't know that. They've been woking them in the army for about 2 years or 3 years now. Or in the military, not just the army. Woke training? Sorry. That's not going to work for me. I don't care what your pronouns are. All I want to know is, you going to fight in this trench with me? Have you got my back? And when you get out there and you get in these part of the countries where these quote-unquote rednecks are, we just call them laid-back Americans. Get out there where they are, where they view everybody as their neighbor and as their family. Because then you broke down the walls of them trying to keep us divided, and you beat them on one of their front lines. I have never seen the U.S. House of Representatives merge a country so damn tight as they did the night they passed H.R. 1808. the party of decline. The party of Jim Crow. The party of Lyndon Johnson, who, I don't know why his quotes don't ever make it into any election cycle. Lyndon Johnson's quotes was the gift that keeps giving to this day. If they would just not be scared to say them. And you can go read it. They'll tell you in all the search stuff now, I've noticed it change over the last few years. It was not really documented. Well, that's saying a lot. It was not really documented. But was it documented somewhere? It must have been. If it wasn't really, it means it was probably in a couple of places. But what he said about the Food Stamp Act, please go look that up. You can look it up on Google. I don't care. You'll read it and know. The dude was from East Texas. Lyndon Johnson was smart ass. For real. And I'm sure he said it. It was that time of the country. It was in the 60s. I'm sure he said it. Alfie Stoner, H.R. 1808 is a attempted takeover of the government to take over and retire all the gun laws. Say it, William. Let me know what it is. It's a loophole around where everything can be confiscated without warrant. Okay, William, I got to know what Hank Williams' greatest quote is. I've got to know. Thank you, L. Yeah, that was Junior. Somewhat. I don't know about how long it would have lasted, but history would have been known. That's for sure, the true history of the Civil War. You know, and it was never started over slavery. And if you go look up, if you want to know exactly what's going on, go look up the presidential speeches of the time. They can't be augmented. And it tells you exactly what's there. Time augments what actually was there. But one thing about our record keeping for the forefathers up until the last few is that they have really gone up. I got 300 more likes to 5,000 likes. Y'all help me out on that. That's one of my goals for tonight. I'm not care about the temperature and all that stuff. I did it because I see all the other people do it. It gives me a timer to work with. And my timer on my podcast, since we're simultaneously podcasting tonight. But they have actually cemented this country over one of their laws, and it's not going to get by Senate. Senate's got the message. They got the hint. I promise you, they got the hint. I know for a fact they got the hint. Okay, Frodo. If it wasn't slavery, what was it then? It was money. They had enacted a tax on the cotton to pay for their loans that they gotten from the other countries. If you'll go look at the speech of Lincoln's speech to Congress in 1861, his inauguration speech and the speech prior to the Civil War, it plainly says there, if the South succeeds, who's going to pay our bills? Slavery wasn't brought into the Civil War until about halfway through, when the who's going to pay our bills didn't get the war effort any publicity anymore. And that's the same time what's going on now with all these politics you see now about, you've seen the World Economic Forum and all that, where they loan them the money, and the World Economic Bank loans countries money, and they'll never get it paid off. That's about the time Abraham Lincoln did that. Yes, and how did the South make money? Well, it was the sale of cotton, Frodo. They weren't quote unquote slaves. Because you see, quite a few years before the Civil War, England said they wouldn't buy cotton over slave labor. I said it. Tobacco was grown in the eastern seaboard where it was a little bit more moist, William. But it's true. I mean, tobacco and the country was built on tobacco and cotton, pure and simple. So the slaves were free. The problem was they didn't have nowhere to go, Frodo, my young one. No, it wasn't about slavery. Slavery didn't really exist. They weren't paid enough to go anywhere. They had to stay where they were. Their circumstances wouldn't get them allow them to leave. Yes, there were still slave owners in other states. Yes, there were. Most of them were up north. But we won't talk about that because history is written by the winners. But all you got to do is pull down like a book with a binder on it to find all this information. It's there. It's absolutely there. But if you want to know what's going on with everything that's going on in every part of the country, look at the presidential speeches. Tell you what opened the Constitution of the Confederacy. I don't know. The Constitution of the Confederacy doesn't matter in a dissolved nation. It's the history that led up to the nation being founded in the first place that's there. Will somebody pull it up and read the damn thing and give me the gist? The Constitution of the Confederacy doesn't matter right now. The point is, there's no weak reply, Frodo. There's no arguments. You're not baiting me. No, I didn't say I know. I don't know what the Articles of the Confederacy were. I know what the Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech was about. I know George Washington's last address to the United States, where he talks about two parties and stupid thinking like that is what's going to cause the country to be a failure. You're giving a prime example of everybody of what and how you try to sneak in on these little cracks and stuff. Yes, the southern states were going to be taxed on production, much so as the tea was being taxed in the Boston Harbor. And we're not talking about a lot of tax money either. I think it was 3 cents on a whole ship. That's what started the Revolutionary War. There was other extenuating circumstances involved, but what really got it started was the 3 cent, because King George threw a fit over the 3 cents. But, oh yeah, Frodo did, it clearly says it's to preserve slavery. Okay. So, Frodo, you red or blue? I'm going to prove a point right here. You're going to make me, so might as well do it. It don't matter if you're red or blue. I can tell you're kind of blue anyway. But, you know, all those were Dixiecrats, otherwise known as Democrats. Oh, yeah. They were the slave trader, slave owner, slave everything, weren't they? Huh. Right. That's the whole point. I'm not justifying slavery. I'm telling you they weren't slaves. They were slaves, but they weren't black. Not all the slaves were black either, Frodo. You know that, right? You know there was just as many or more white people that were slaves. I'm not arguing facts, Frodo. You're not baiting me. You're not baiting me. I'm telling you facts. They couldn't sell the cotton to England if they all had slaves, so they were all off paper. They just made it where they couldn't leave. I read history too. probably not the one you're reading out of. That's quite precisely my point of this whole podcast. I'm so glad you came in my TikTok, Frodo. I appreciate it. You got tons of documents. Who produced them? Did you get them from a government agency? I can tell you, if you're a student of history, I want you to go read a book. It's called 1984 by George Orwell. If you can find it, I want you to read that. Then I want you to read Animal Farm. And then I want you to read the Communist Manifesto. And then tell me what you think. I'm waiting. Yeah, it's from the 60s. What, 1960s? From a government agency? Oh, that was a good time in American history. Oh, 1860s? From a government agency? From a preservation society? From the owners themselves? Touche. Frodo, you missed the part where I said history is written by the winners. Their history is written by the winners. Your history is just written. My history is just written. It doesn't matter about a defunct country. We're not talking about a defunct country. He's trying to get it off subject. As I was saying before, both houses of Congress have cemented a country. I'm not angry. They have cemented a country. I kind of like what they did. It was kind of funny because what I found out was there's a lot of difference in what the political parties are represented by today, according to the news media, and what the political parties actually used to be. Now, here is a little bit of history, Mr. Frodo, I want you to understand. There were two leaders in the early 1980s, which you probably weren't born yet. But there were two leaders in the United States called Tip O'Neill and Ronald Wilson Reagan. Now, Democrats and Republicans always had something they could agree on. And they would just get a bottle of damn rum and Scotch, I think. Scotch, they would go in the back office of the Oval Office and they would tell the Secret Service they want to be disturbed. They would come out there with an answer in a minute. And they hammered out a lot of stuff that was good for the public, not necessarily good for the politicians, but good for the public. Because Jimmy Carter done the same thing. If you're older than me, then you damn well know that Jimmy Carter done the same thing to the country that's happening right now. There was a lot of BS that went on then. It's a lot of BS going on now. Yeah, I'm 51 too. And the American public's kind of sick of it now, just like we were then, just like we were back then. Now, believe it or not, you can holler about the Confederacy all you want to. It's absolutely in the Constitution that they can secede from the Union. It's there. And they did it. But why did we go to war then? Money. It's always about money. Follow the money. Or, in our case, in the last war, follow the opium. Pretty much end of discussion. In the early 1990s, it was follow the oil. We all know the game. You go to war to increase costs, to increase production, increase job supplies. But your Southern education failing you bad. Well, I much prefer the words of my grandparents. So, but it all boils down to this anyway. If we want to keep having these petty arguments about stuff, if you want to keep having a petty argument about abortion, you want to keep having a petty argument about gun rights. I know what infringed means. Shall not be. I know what that means. All these companies that's been being mentioned, throwing up there, they got only one thing in common with each other, and that's they gonna make the most money they can by manipulating the most people that they can to keep the most money in the pocket as they can. That's not just Halliburton. It's the largest names in medical care. That's the one part of the gross domestic product the government can't get control of is the healthcare industry. There's too many variables involved. They can't quite get their hands on it. You're right, Mark, it is pointless. And when you're talking about $4 trillion, you're talking about total control of the U.S. economy. Oh, yeah, Soros is winning. Everybody's arguing about everything else. They all into the minute details when the bigger issue is the bigger picture. Dan, you're exactly right. You're right, Paul. On that side of the religious spectrum, you're right. I've read the end book. I've read Revelation too. You're right, he does. But at what cost? You realize the religion's killed more people than anything else? I mean, they talk about it in the Old Testament. They've wiped out entire villages and stuff, entire cities. And that's still not the point. The point is, we're stuck in this little square box with some jutting point juxtaposition in states that's not connected to live with each other. The government don't care about you. They don't care about me. I do jump topics really fast. I do. But they don't care about us. At the end of the day, it's always going to be just us against them. Me against you. Well, I mean, I'm moving as fast as our government. I mean, you can't harness the wind for everybody. They proved that during the deep freeze 3 years ago. Solar energy costs more to make the products than it does to export. You still got to have coal burned to make electricity. To charge everything up with, that's useless. I'm not saying where it can't be used, don't use it, but it's not going to power. Electric's not going to power the whole world. That's the same argument that Tesla and what's his name was having back, AC/DC and DC and all that crap. And here we are at the same argument. Everything is controlled by the government as far as the thought process, and is controlled through the media operatives. They've got everybody caught up on some semantics. Edison, yeah, whatever. It's an argument that I'm talking about, not the people. Everybody gets caught up on semantics. It's not about semantics. At the end of the day, this country was founded as a test. They took the best of what they knew at the time, and they created a government to fit it, to see if it will work. It's only democracy as long as you can keep it. That's what kind of government they have. That's what they were told. I think it was Jefferson. They said they would ask a woman in the street, ask what kind of government they have. Well, you got a republic as long as you can keep it. We're losing it. and we're losing it to a small percentage of the population. This isn't a democracy. This is a federal elected republic, and it's not a democracy. And I'll be damned. People are starting to realize the difference, and I'll be damned if somebody's going to take it from me. Period. They won't do it. I won't let them. I fought through too much. I beat cancer. I beat Graves' disease. In remission from both. And then I'm going to take my freedoms from me. And I don't want to hear about the abortion rights and all that. That's the states' rights issue. But they're not going to take the ones guaranteed in the Constitution from me. Or the Declaration of Independence, because we're still bound by that too. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And some of that pursuit is up to you. You're going to be generally pissed off because you got somebody that don't dress like you want them to dress. Is that really important in the end of the story? I don't care if they dress up as women and they're men. If they're men and women and they dress up as men, they want to put on diapers and walk around in a damn onesie. I don't give a damn. That's them. Let them be them. Everybody says you be you, boo. Well, let them be them. Mind your own business. But don't let nobody take nothing from you. And defend yourself to every aspect of the law. The law is not one-sided. The cops may be one-sided, but the law is not one-sided. It's a two-edged sword because it's written with a pen. I sound liberal. A lot of people sound liberal. I'm not liberal or I'm not either, really and truly. I've got thoughts on both sides. I think social programs are needed. I just don't think the way they do it is the right way to do it. And I get the right to gripe about it against my government. The freedom of speech is guaranteed. There's a whole country that don't identify with either party. Because people think with common sense. And people really do believe, just leave me the hell alone. And that's where the gray state is. The gray state cares about you not violating the Constitution. Because that's the end of all laws. That supersedes everything in the country. I started this as a hobby anyway, after my wife passed away last year. Because I had to have something to do with my time. Here's the rabbit hole thing. I started digging and stuff, but just digging, not hunting anything in particular. You know how when you look up something and it takes you to one article and then takes you to another, and pretty soon you find yourself delved in 80 tabs across the top of your computer screen reading. And I did that. And then I got started on different parts of the law and what was going on. And then going to read both sides of the argument. I was like, well, I'm not really a Republican anymore. Not a Democrat. Never have been one of those. But a lot of the ideas aren't that bad. I would go about it a different way, but that's what the object of discussion is for. The object of discussion leaves room, because you have to agree on something before you can have a conversation on anything. And the parties have bastardized themselves so far left and so far right. There's nobody left in the middle in D.C. to speak for the ones in the middle. What would they do? You think the national media would cover if 5 people from the Democratic Party and 5 people from the Republican Party and some independents and some libertarians and some Green Party all these people get represented and go have a pizza party at the ballot boxes like they did in Arizona, keeping an eye out, making sure there wasn't any fraud because it's their election. It's your election. It's your election process. Do you think the government would get scared then? Because if you're sitting at a ballot box that you're watching because nobody wants to be called a cheater on either side, right? And you're eating pizza, then there's something else going on. What might that be? Oh, you're probably having a meaningful conversation based over the crap that they're doing in D.C. Well, we can't have that. DC's got to find a way to keep you separated. Because they can't accomplish what they want to do for themselves if we're fighting with each other. They know what's coming. They do. They know. They've read the book too. They know it's coming too. And it's not going to be, I don't think, everybody talks about this January 6th insurrection thing. I just don't see that that's what's going to happen. What I'm seeing is we're all having to pay ungodly amounts of money for groceries and ungodly amounts of money for gas. When everybody sitting here knows, no matter which side of the aisle you're sitting on, that we got more gas than the whole world. All these religious people, and I say that not loosely really because I still do respect religion. I was raised in a church. I just don't buy all the crap that goes with it. I don't believe in organized religion at all. I think religion should be a personal matter in between you and your maker. And not, well, the prices have dropped, but that's by design. They probably increased production somewhere. You're right, Planet Red Pill. You're right. I referred to in the last TikTok I did with any length on it was Yashimoto said we never would invade America because behind every blade of grass would be a rifle. You're right. I agree with you, Planet Red Pill. I agree. Hold on, TikTok. I'll be back with you. I got to close out this live version of my podcast because I am getting to my hour and 35. I want to thank you tonight for listening to the Gray State Revolution. I hope y'all all have a great week. I hope y'all enjoyed the live content. Free base, no outline. The guys on TikTok have been great. I don't mind having discussions at all. I really do it. Yeah, it always does that, Crystal. You're right. So y'all have a good night and good weekend. I hope to see y'all next week in Gray State Revolution.
This has been another episode from the Gray State Revolution. Join David again next week for a look into the past to see the future. Remember, when tyranny becomes law, resistance becomes duty. Download episodes from your favorite platform every week and follow Big Dave on TikTok @The Gray State Mafia.